Thrilled to give the turn to a former member of the British House of Commons, a longtime friend and supporter of the NCRI. Please welcome the Honourable Roger Godsiff.
Friends, and it's a pleasure and an honour to join you today. I remember back in June 2018 at the rally in Villepinte, in front of this huge crowd, I spoke and stressed that European leaders must recognise the mullah's regime for what it is, a terrorist regime that can never be a partner for peace. Little did I know when I said that this regime had planned an attack with the aim of killing as many people at that rally as possible. A regime of such ferocity that it is sought once again to eliminate in a bloodbath not only its democratic alternative headed by Mrs. Rajavi, but also all the Iranian and international supporters of a free and democratic Iran gathered in Villepinte that day. We all know the appalling scale of repression in Iran and the political executions which have been carried out, which reached a peak with the massacre of political prisoners in 1988. A massacre recognized as a crime against humanity and genocide by experts and jurists. But we would never have thought that this regime would rely on an act of terrorism which could have resulted in many hundreds, if not thousands of people being killed and maimed. I'm one of those who filed a complaint to activate the mechanisms of European justice to justice the perpetrators of this act of terror. I welcome the fact that the main accused, the terrorist-diplomat Assadi, is now going to be in prison for 20 years. But I remain concerned that the masterminds who gave the green light to this act of terrorism at the highest level, like the Supreme Leader, Khamenei, and others, have not been brought to account, and they should have been brought to account. And they've been left free to carry out their terrorist activities throughout the world. I'm sure you're aware that recently the regime announced its plans to execute a Swedish dual citizen it had imprisoned and charged on bogus charges in an effort to exert pressure and extract concessions from the Swedish government with regards to the ongoing trial of the regime's henchman, Nouri, who is being prosecuted for involvement in the 1988 massacre. But we shouldn't be surprised because hostage-taking, terrorism and intimidation are part of the regime's DNA. My friends, it's high time we changed our policy towards Iran. The European Union and European leaders are sending the wrong message to this religious dictatorship, leaving it with free hands to prepare its attacks and spread terror. European politics must follow European justice. It must follow the same path. It must take actions proportionate to the massacre that have been planned. There can be no gap between judicial and political decisions. The European Union cannot sit at the same table with a regime that is proven to have planned a crime against humanity on European soil. It cannot pursue dialogue with the regime whose embassies are serving state terrorism. By adopting a policy of silence and inaction, European governments have allowed Tehran's terrorist activities to continue to flourish, and that endangers all European citizens. So I repeat once again, I call upon European leaders, including the political leaders in the United Kingdom, to recognize that the mullah's regime is a terrorist organization, and it's not an organization that we can sit and negotiate with. At best, what we should be doing is closing the regime's embassies throughout Europe, because the regime doesn't use its embassies for traditional diplomatic purposes. It uses these embassies as hubs of terrorist activities in the countries where they exist. We should not allow this, and we should make sure that steps are taken to end this gross misuse of diplomatic facilities. My friends, it's been a pleasure and an honor to join you today and to be part of this conference. And I too, like many of the other speakers, congratulate the judges for not being intimidated and for passing the sentences which they passed on people who wanted to try and carry out mass murder. Thank you once again.